Welcome to the fifth video of our 7-part comparison series between the iPhone 5s, the Galaxy S4 and the Lumia 1020. We already took a look at the displays, the speakers, the batteries and the performance. Now it's time for the operating systems. Of course we have iOS 7, then Android with Samsung's Touchwiz user interface on top of that, and Windows Phone 8. 4 things I'm going to focus on. First, we're trying to find out which operating system is the most intuitive. Then we get into this whole personalization thing. After that, it's time to talk about apps, and to finish the video off, I will talk about the security of these mobile operating systems. Let's get going. Coincidentally, a couple of weeks back, I read a study that talked about how easy or how hard each mobile operating system is to use, and their results go hand in hand with my experience, and that is that iOS 7 really is the most easy mobile operating system out there. You can give this phone to a total newbie and he wouldn't have any trouble finding out the core features of this phone. He could make calls easily, would check his emails, no problem. Also, new control center really helps out a lot, I think, because you can turn Bluetooth and stuff like that on and off without having to look for it in the settings. Really great stuff, especially for beginners, I think. The only thing that might throw beginners off a little bit is this iTunes thing. If you want to get music or videos on your phone, then you have to use iTunes, and that might be confusing for beginners. Android comes in second, I would say, and there are 2 main reasons for that. The first is that each manufacturer has their own user interface, so a Sony device doesn't necessarily look like an HTC device. The differences aren't huge, but you still need some time to get used to what's new on your new Android version, I would say. And the second reason is that Android out of the box already allows you to do so many things. You could change the standard browser, which you can't do with the other devices. You can personalize your lock screen, and then there are apps that even give you more options. You could root your device if that's not enough. Of course, with iOS you can jailbreak your phone, but on the Windows operating system I don't think that there's anything out there like that. But I don't think it's really missing there, because Windows Phone 8, their demographic is beginners and business people right now, and I don't think that that's something that they are really interested in. But Android, like I said, so many options, and that's just the thing that doesn't make it really intuitive, because it just takes some learning for you to understand what you can do with it. But the core features, they are pretty easy to understand, just like on iOS. Now with Windows Phone 8, it's a little bit tricky because it is considered the least intuitive operating system, and I tend to agree. But that's because these live tiles are something we don't really know yet. But once you play around with them for a little bit, you really start to understand them quickly. And then when you swipe from right to left, you will have a list of all your programs that are on the phone in alphabetical order, and it's just so easy to use, and it just makes a lot of sense to me. But the one thing I really miss there is a control center. So whenever you want to turn NFC or Bluetooth on and off, you have to go to settings. It's just too many clicks. And sometimes it's hard to find, especially for beginners. But other than that, it's a really minimalistic operating system, and it makes a lot of sense. Just play around with it for a little bit and you will get used to live tiles, and I think you would enjoy it more than you think. Let's talk about personalization and features, and that is where Android, as an open operating system with Touchwiz on top of it, absolutely dominates. If you don't like how something works or looks, then just go ahead and change it. Then Touchwiz comes with so many features. Some of them I think are completely ridiculous and you don't need them, like Air View or Smart Stay and Smart Scroll. But then there are some great features, and my 2 favorite features would be Pop-Up Play and especially Multi-Window. Multi-Window allows you to have 2 apps running on your display at the same time, and you get to be more productive that way, I think. Now with iOS 7, you better like it, because you can't really do much about it if you don't like it. And on Windows Phone 8, it's all about them live tiles. You can completely change the look and feel of your phone just by deciding which live tiles you want to have on your display and where you need them to and where they need to be. Also, you can change the size of the tiles and the color, so you can really make it your own unique device. The next topic used to be a problem for Android and still is a big problem for Windows Phone 8. Of course, I'm talking about apps. For instance, there's no Instagram app for Windows phones out there right now. Of course, the reason for that is that Windows Phone 8 is by far the smallest operating system in terms of users out of these 3. 70% of all phones being sold right now run Android, 20% run iOS, and only about 5% run Windows Phone 8 on it. So that's why developers focus on the bigger ones first. Now, sometimes apps still get released first on iOS, and that is because it's sort of easier to build apps for iOS, because with Android, you have so many versions of Android you have to take into account. Like, there's still 1/3 of Android users run Android 2.3 Gingerbread. That is 3 years old. And then there are thousands of smartphones and tablets running Android, and you just have to test and optimize for all of them. And with Apple, it's really easy because there are only 2 versions of iOS really. There's iOS 6 and iOS 7, and there are a couple of phones, the iPhone 4, 4S, 5, 5S, and some tablets. That's it. Also, iOS users are more likely to spend money on your app, so it makes sense to offer it to them first. Now, when we take a look at the app stores, there are about 100,000 apps for Windows phones and over 1 million each for Android and iOS. But even when you take a look at the Windows Store, you will find the most basic apps. You will find what you need. You will find a Twitter app and Facebook app, and you will find a calculator app. Maybe you don't have the option to choose from 20 different calculator apps like you would in the Google Play Store, but you will find an app that crunches the numbers for you. Let's talk about the safety of these operating systems. And it sounds more important than it really is, and I will tell you why in a second. There's this thing called the Mobile Threat Report, and what they do is they take a look at all the mobile operating systems and check them for their safety. In 2012, they found 415 vulnerabilities, and guess what? 387 of them came from one operating system. It's not Android. Actually, it is iOS. So, wow. Am I saying that iOS is the least safest operating system? No, not at all. And that goes back to the point that most smartphones run Android. So that's what hackers focus on. Hackers focus on the operating system with the most users because they have the highest success rate there. So over 90% of malware created for mobile operating systems is for Android, which does make Android the least safe operating system out there. But I don't know anybody who ever had a problem with a virus on his smartphone, but pretty much all of my friends at some point had one on their computer. So luckily, it's not a huge issue on mobile operating systems right now. So which operating system is the best? Unfortunately, there is no real answer to that question. It just depends on what you need and what you like. Me personally, I appreciate all the options and features Android offers, so that's what I prefer. But it's up to you to decide which one works best for you. Now, the 3 videos you see right there, the first one is the first video of our 7-part comparison series, where we take a look at the displays. The second video is the next part of this series, where we talk about the cameras, and the last video is my scratch test for the iPhone 5S. See you there, bye.